Welcome back on this Halloween, talking about the Bell Witch, one of the great ghost stories, really in all of Tennessee and across the entire country. It's just one of those great ghost stories, and as we said at the top of the show, the most documented ghost story in history. I have with us Pat Fitzhugh, Bell Witch historian. The last caller, Jenny, said she heard that John Bell, the patriarch of the family, John Bell, killed a woman in a horrible way, and that woman then came back as the Bell Witch.
Right, and that woman, according to that theory, which I call the smokehouse theory, the woman was a neighbor, Kate Batts. But in my research, I found there's no way she could have come back from the dead to haunt the Bells, or to haunt John Bell, because he passed away in 1820, and she passed away in 1843. So no way that could have happened. And you know, I'm not a subscriber to the smokehouse, or actually to any theory for that matter. I'm just the researcher. I just put different things out there. But you know, I don't feel that John Bell killed anybody. Certainly not Kate Batts, because she outlived him. And you know, he had a reputation as being a good and fair man, but at the same time, he was a very busy planter. They planted a lot of crops, sold a lot of crops there, and he was a businessman. And as one might imagine, he occasionally had little things that came up that had to be settled that were of a legal nature. I know of an instance where he once had an action filed against him because he allegedly charged too much interest on a sale. And that was called usury. He was tried before the church and found not guilty. Then the accuser took him to court and he was found guilty. Then the church said, well, because you were found guilty, we're going to excommunicate you. And he ended up being excommunicated from the Red River Baptist Church.
He was excommunicated? I didn't know that. So he was an elder at one point, but then he's excommunicated? That's pretty bad.
Right, because he was found guilty in court for charging a little too much interest on a business deal.
So is he a good person, or I guess you can't say. I mean, the totality of a person's life, but you know, I've seen some of these things where he's depicted as a not very good person.
Well, you know, different people have different opinions, and you know, I tell people I wasn't alive back then. I didn't know him, so I couldn't form an opinion, and you know, they weren't either. I just, you know, I know that he was very well liked, but at the same time, as a businessman and a successful businessman, he of course is going to have some people try to sue him, or he sues them or something, you know, things like that come up. But you know, I don't know that that defines his total character. But
the ghost in the legend clearly hated him. The ghost was after him, and in the legend the ghost killed him.
And in the legend, the ghost professed a strong desire to kill John Bell, but at the same time, the entity hated a lot of people, pretty much everybody except for one of the neighbor's sons and the mother of the family, Ms. Lucy Bell. She talked about them in very high regards, but seemed to hate everyone else. But John Bell was the only one that she vowed to kill.
What was on John Bell's death certificate? What did he die of?
He was attributed, his death was attributed to the workings of a spirit. However, what I have looked for, what I've been told exists, but what I've never found is the actual piece of paper.
So that's what I've heard, that his death is the only one to ever be attributed to killed by a spirit.
That's correct, and I'm told that that was an official cause of death. And one of the things that's been on my wish list from day one is a copy of that death certificate officially stating that. Because if it doesn't, then I don't know that would be official. And then there comes the question, did they even issue a death certificate? Or did they even issue them at all back then in Robertson County?
That would be quite shocking if, I don't know if it's an autopsy, but a medical examiner would say he died because of a ghost. A spirit.
If I were to find that piece of documentation, yes, I would be shocked. But I'm not sure the documentation to that even exists.
Let's go to Pete. Hello, Pete. Are you there, Pete?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, I've got part Indian in me, and the Indians know what happened with the Bell Witch, how it started. The Bell family disturbed the graves of some Indians, and that's how it all started. From them disturbing and not respecting and demolishing the graves and disregarding them, and that's why it started.
All right.
There's also the legend of the Bell Witch Cave. That's where some Indians that were disturbed stayed in times of bad weather and stuff. So.
All right, well, let's talk about both those things. What about this theory that he's putting out there?
Early on in the legend, after this thing developed a voice and was continually asked what it was, it gave a different answer each time, but one answer was that it was the spirit of someone buried nearby whose bones had been disturbed. And it just so happened that one of the Bell's sons and one of his friends several years earlier had opened up a Native American grave on the northwest corner of the property.
Okay, that's interesting. And the whole Bell Witch Cave, that was the other question I guess he had, or comment.
There's a lot of history in the Bell Witch Cave. The Native Americans have used it. It was used, I think, by Jesse James at some point, and the Bells used it for dry storage.
Let's take one more call before we go to break. Let's go to, it's now Barbara? Or no, let's go to Peggy. We'll come back to you, Barbara. Peggy, what's on your mind? All right, turn down your TV there. I guess I'll put you on hold.
Excuse me.
And let's try David. All right, David, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, what's on your mind? Go ahead.
Okay, I used to live up that way. I lived on Oakwood Church Road, about 6 miles from Adams about that time. That's where I was at. And 8 years I lived up there. Of course, I've heard a lot of stories. One of them was another one of your smokehouse theories, you call them. I think that's a good term. But she was on some land that belonged to him. He evicted her. She died, but before she died, she put a curse on the entire family. She was banished to this cave. Now, maybe that's a Hollywood thing they put out there. I don't know, but that's the story I know, is that he was a bad man. He evicted her, and the family of hers died. And when she died, then she put the curse on the whole family, and that's what attributed to all the troubles from John Bell. And but I used to live. I used to love going to Adams. It's a quiet little town. I used to sit at the little store up there and meet folks, and real good area. I never saw anything. I had 3 claw marks on my back door. I don't know. It wasn't a bear or nothing. I don't know what it was, but
well, that's scary. That's not good.
I don't know. I have no idea what that. It looks like 3 fingers had indented the door, and the paint was pulled off of the back door.
All right, that's totally creepy.
So that was kind of odd, but that was a story I heard about it. So, you know, I mean, I appreciate it. Great show there, Ben. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. All right, we're going to take a break. We have to take a break. We're late on these breaks. Take a break. Be back right after this. More calls, more talk. Be back right after this.